How many days has a book been checked out? Based on specific criteria. We're going to use if is blank, the today function, come up with one answer. We're going to use the min function for something else. Let me explain. Brad Williams, Excel primed. How many days has a book been checked out? Probably from today's date minus whenever you checked it out. I'm thinking that's probably the answer. Here's our layout. We have a book checkout. We have a checkout and a check-in. Here's our anatomy. This is what we're working with. Here's our second example. And then our write-up. Let's just read the write-up here. How many days has a book been checked out? To calculate the number of days a book has been checked out, you can use a formula based on the if function, along with the today and is blank. If is blank, D5. Today minus C5, otherwise D5 minus C5. Or is blank D5, E3 minus C5, D5. We'll check that out in a second. Using the checked out date in column C over here, the outcome for a checkout is the number of days since the book was checked out. Simple enough. That's what I opened up with, and let's see how we go about doing that. We need to determine how many days a book has been checked out. We begin counting when a book is checked out and stop counting when checked in. If there's no specified check-in, the checkout remains open. Well, clearly. Excel dates are simple serial numbers, so the calculations are straightforward. The checkout date can be subtracted from the current date, which is calculated using the today function. When a book is checked in, we need a way to stop this calculation so that the number of checked out days open does not continue to increase. This formula is controlled by the if function. In Excel, we can do something like this. If tickets open, days since open, days since closed. After we convert this into a proper Excel formula, the formula will look like this. Exactly what I just stated up above. Is blank is used to determine whether a checkout is open. Is blank is date closed empty. This is a test that will either return true or false. If the result is true, then the checkout remains open. In this example, we perform a calculation using the today function to determine the number of days the checkout has been open. Today minus C5, days since checked out. Today returns the current date subtracted by the checkout date. Each of the date is a serial number. As long as the checkout date is in the past, the number will be less. As time progresses, the number of checkout days will continue to increase as the today function returns larger numbers. If is blank returns false, the checkout will be closed. In this case, we calculate the number of days the checkout was open prior to being closed. You're thinking, wow, this is a lot of work for just checking out a book and checking it in. Well, yeah, we have to do a couple of checks while confirming whether it is still outstanding. Simplification. One thing you may notice is that we subtract the checkout date regardless of whether we use today's date or the check-in date. And negative C5 appears in both arguments. This means we can use the following formula with a slight change. If is blank, today, D5 minus C5. Or if is blank, D5, 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 C5. In this example, we use the if function to return the date to begin with, and then subtract C5 start date. We can go even further by substituting the if function with the min function. Min D5 today minus C5, or min D5 E mixed reference minus C5. Here we use min to find the smaller of two dates. The date the book was checked in or the current date. If the check-in date is not specified, its value is 0 and the current date will be used. If the check-in date is not empty and is smaller than or equal to the current date, it will be used. Both formulas are great examples of how Excel's formulas can easily be changed to reduce length and redundancy. Wow, that's a lot of stuff for just a simple calculation, isn't it? Let's take a look here. If is blank. Is D5 blank? No. Then go forward. E3 to C5. E3. What's E3? It's today's date. or whatever date you want, minus C5. What's C5? Our checkout. 12/1, so whatever the date is, it could be random. And then 1/30/2029. Days checked out on E3 minus C5. That's if it was blank. Otherwise, D5, 1/31 minus D5. You see what happens if D5 is blank? Think about this. If is blank D5, E3 minus C5. Why? Date checked in. That means it's been checked in. So we don't have to calculate any further. We're going to default to D5 minus C5. No, I'm sorry. I'm reversing that. That means this book has not been checked in and it's outstanding 274 days. And we go D8, okay, minus C8. Only if it's not blank. Got that? I kind of went backwards there. Well, let me rephrase this. If is blank, D8, then E3, this date here, minus C8. Okay, that's when it was checked out. Otherwise, we're going to use D8, which is the check-in date, minus C8. Days checked out, you see here? And we can use is blank. What's the difference here? What's the difference between here and here? Is we removed one step. Now it's a shorter condensed version. If is blank, D5, E3, D5 minus C5. Got it?
Be sure to check out our extensive courses, which include Excel data and text manipulation for advanced users, beginners, intermediate. We also have this great essentials, the A to Z for advanced users, the comprehensive beginner level 1 and 2. Then we have our advanced formulas, strictly formulas, great set of courses, which we have a beginner level 1 and beginner level 2, this intermediate level, and we have this advanced level. Click on any of the links. There's a short video that explains everything about the course. Check it out.
Over here, we're going to use the min function. We're going to go min D5, E3 minus C5. You see that? Min, and then what are we trying to do with min? It's our number. Then our number 2 is E3. It's going to be, E3 is going to be this date. So we're going to have to look at these dates here. And then we're going to go minus C5 here. So we're working with serial numbers. And if you want to see what this looks like, hit F9. We're going to have that number and this number. And we're going to look for the minimum. Then we're going to subtract it. And we're just going to go over here. So 47149, 47453. So we're going to go 47149 minus what's C5? C5 is this number here. And we'd have to look at this and see. And then we just have to figure out whatever that number is. There you go. And then if you want to see what we're trying to do, D5 is equal, D5 is 131. So 131, we have 31, 330. H5 minus C5 is 1. All we're trying to do is look at the dates here. This would be today's date, so 10, and then 4. This is just me thinking out loud and just testing stuff, going, well, how many days between X and Y? Here, it's just a matter of working through this. Just logically sitting down and going, all right, where do I start? Where's the midpoint? Where's the final output? And you can mess around with this stuff, read this, take a look at the anatomy, practice. Brad Williams, Excel Prime.